Yeah, let's begin today's session. Today we are planning to discuss about banking ombudsman, internal ombudsman, and NBFC ombudsman. Okay, so let me tell you why I selected this topic, banking ombudsman. As many of you knowing about this banking ombudsman, because it comes into picture in our day-to-day activity inside bank. But the first important thing is what we do in our day-to-day life. We should be aware about the laws. Okay, so this is not important that how you play, but this is important that you should know the rule of the game. It is the first basic thing, that you should know the rule of the game. Okay, so what are the rights available with the customer in case customer wants to make a complaint against you? It will be helpful both in your exam interview and also in your day to day life. So let's begin with banking ombudsman. So nowadays, banking ombudsman plays a very vital role because RBI is having a tight scrutiny over the customer complaints and the service quality of banks. So let's begin with banking ombudsman. One second, let me have the slides. Then we will be discussing. Okay, banking ombudsman. Let's begin with. I think we have discussed about banking ombudsman in Banking Regulation Act. We have discussed for a few seconds. So can any one of you tell what was that we discussed? Under which section of Banking Regulation Act this banking ombudsman comes into picture? Can anyone tell? So let me start with the banking ombudsman scheme as is defined under section 35A of Banking Regulation Act 1949. It was originally floated in the year 1995, but later it was amended. So the scheme which is currently running is the Banking Ombudsman Scheme of 2006, and the latest amendment to this Banking Ombudsman Scheme was done in the year 2017. It is done. It has been implemented for speedy resolution of customer complaints. Okay, so and there it is inexpensive, means no fee is involved when somebody makes a query in banking ombudsman. So let me tell you, as long as it is not clear that whether there will be a written test or not, we are now preparing for both written and interview point of view. So once it is clear that there will be no written test, we will focus only the concepts that are important in interview. Likely the questions, what you think about privatization in bank, what you know about Basel 3, all that. Do you think it is important to make banks privatized? Is there any other formula to make bank more efficient? Such type of questions, the descriptive questions we will be discussing. But now we will be focusing on both MCQ part and knowledge part. Okay, so let's go ahead. Appointment and tenure. Reserve Bank may appoint one or more of its officers of the rank Chief General Manager or General Manager to be known as Banking Ombudsman. The maximum tenure of a BO, Banking Ombudsman, is for 3 years. What is the BO's role? Banking Ombudsman's role. Banking Ombudsman shall receive and consider complaints relating to the deficiencies in banking or other services. It will also include the allied services in banking like insurance, third-party products. Okay. The Banking Ombudsman shall send to the Governor of Reserve Bank a report regarding their developments by 30th June every financial year. Okay. So these are the MCQs. They normally appear in JIIB exams, CIIB exams, in retail banking, CIIB, and also in exams which are held for experienced candidates. So multiple choice questions come, and you also know all this by the act. Okay. So these are the banking regulations, because it is one of the clause inside Banking Regulation Act 1949. So the complaint types, this is defined in clause 8. You have to remember this clause 8, because in our upcoming slides this clause 8 will appear. Clause 8 means the grounds of complaint, in which grounds a customer can make a complaint against a bank. So you must remember that customer is king, and anytime customer can make a complaint against you. Nowadays you can see there are more conflicts appearing in newspapers regarding customer and banker. Okay, because nowadays customer are getting aware of their rights, so there are more and more complaints surfacing against bankers. So you must know where you can say no to a customer and where you cannot say no to a customer. So these are important. So this is defined in clause 8 of Banking Ombudsman Scheme 2006, which is amended last in the year 2017. Okay, you should know all this by the law, and because it is something that empowers you. Okay, because if you don't know the rights of the customer, then there will be a clash between your ego and customer's ego. Customer will say that you cannot deny me this particular service, but if you don't know that this is your right to deny, then you will be perhaps accepting this customer's demand. So you must know all this, because let's see what are the complaint grounds of complaint first. Non-payment or unreasonable delay in payment or collection or issue of checks, drafts, bills, etc. Okay, what is all that called? Checks, drafts, bills. If we want to tell all of them in a single word, what will we say? Here it is mentioned: checks, drafts, bills. I want to replace all these three. As I want to substitute all these three words into a single word. Can anyone tell, as you all are experienced bankers, can anyone tell me what will be the single word for this? Check, draft, bills. Yeah? Banker check. No, 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 no. Right, negotiable instrument. Okay, non-payment or unreasonable delay in the payment, collection, or issue of negotiable instruments. There are three negotiable instruments which is defined under NI Act 1881. These are check, drafts, and bills of exchange. Okay. So non-acceptance without sufficient cause of small denomination notes and coins. You cannot deny to accept small denomination note and coins. As long as it is under circulation, as a banker, you have to accept it. So you must understand that how much coins you can accept. If it is below 1 rupee denomination, means if it is 50 paisa coin, then you can accept up to rupees 10. Up to rupees 10, it will be treated as legal tender. If it is 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 5 rupee, 10 rupee coin, then you will accept up to rupees 1000. Okay. If somebody is depositing you 5,000 coins worth 5,000 coins worth 5,000, then you can deny. You have to deny, because they are not legal tenders. Anything beyond 1,000, any coin beyond 1,000 is not a legal tender. Is it clear? Okay. So others: non-payment or delay in payment of inward remittances, non-adherence to prescribed working hours. If you are shutting your doors to a customer before 4 p.m. or any prescribed working hour, before prescribed working hour, then also customer can make a complaint against you. Okay. Delay or failure to provide any banking facility, like accept loans and advances, because there is other section, there is a sub clause which defines what are the rules and regulations are applicable to loans and advances. So while I am quoting loans and advances, both seems to be one word. So what is the basic difference between loans and advances? Why the two words are used, loans and advances? This is a very good interview question. What is the difference? Yeah. No, loans. No. I'm telling you, loans is term loan. Okay. Advances mean this CCOD. This is the basic thing. When we talk about CC and OD, we talk about advances. Okay. And loans are usually referred to term loans. Okay. So these are the basic things an interviewer might ask. Anything can be a question nowadays. So these basic things make a very huge difference. It is not an issue if you don't know something big, some big definitions, something big. But if you don't know simple things, then it can be a serious problem as far as interviews are concerned. Okay, you can say I don't know, but in simple questions you cannot say I don't know. You must be knowing it. Okay, one of my interviews, one of my friend has prepared rigorously. He has more banking knowledge than me, but he was asked what is JAM. He was suddenly taken aback because he was not expecting a question about JAM. So he was not in a mood to answer. He was unable to answer, in fact. But he was having huge experience, huge banking knowledge. He unfortunately he was not selected. But the JAM was that government's e-marketplace. This is a common thing. You must be knowing that. Okay. So these are the basic things. So you have to, while you are preparing for an interview, don't prepare for tough terms. Prepare for simple ones. Simplify them. You will be going through the interview. You will be getting through in the interview. But you cannot dock a simple question. You can dock a hard question, but you cannot dock a simple question, right? Okay, let's go ahead. We discussed it. Delay or failure to provide any banking facility. It is regarding the liabilities part, because for loans and advances there will be another section coming. Refusal to open a deposit account without any valid reason. You cannot deny a customer because he is not beautiful, he or she is not beautiful. You cannot deny on that ground. So remember it. If you don't like somebody or some particular group of people, you just cannot deny. It is their basic right that they will open an account with you. Levying charges without adequate prior notice to the customer. Okay, that's why if there would be any change, they publish a news article that SBI is going to change their MAB charges, etc. Okay. Non-adherence to RBI instructions in terms of ATM, debit card, prepaid card, credit card, etc. Non-adherence to RBI instructions with regard to mobile banking, electronic banking, non-disbursement or delay in disbursement of pension, refusal to accept or delay in accepting payment towards taxes, failure or delay with regard to the issue or service or redemption of government securities, forced closure of deposit accounts without any notice or without giving sufficient reason. So that's why I always say banking in India is a highly regulated business. So a banker needs to be professional at every point of time. He should know that he cannot do anything without informing customer, because you don't have arbitrary power. As a banker, you have limited powers. Okay. So you function under tremendous pressure. We as a banker function under tremendous pressure. There are public with whom we interact every day, and interacting with public itself is a pressure. So you have to be aligned with the public's mood and public's demand. At the same point of time, though RBI is the regulatory body, there are other regulators who also impose their rules on us. So banking, and as a banker, we work under a tremendous pressure condition. Okay, because RBI has certain rules, regulations we cannot violate. Here there is Banking Regulation Act, there is Ombudsman Scheme, there is KYC guidelines. You cannot violate KYC guidelines. This is a serious offense. This is directly linked to money laundering, and There are FEMA rules. There are other rules also which are applicable to bankers. There are court orders. There are income tax orders on your customer's account. So while you are working in a bank, you do whatever you want to do, but remember one thing: these government guidelines, the court guidelines, the income tax guidelines, you need to follow, because you will find many retired bank employees are getting a pink slip on the day of their retirement. Okay, recently I come across a news: a general manager retiring from the bank was very happy that day. In that evening, they were arranging a farewell. Suddenly, the HR manager came, and after the farewell meeting, he handed over a slip to him, stating that, sir, there are some charges levied against you. There are some charges against you. So it will be inquired, and till then, your pension and retirement benefits will not be handed over to you. So he just got a mild, and after receiving that, he got a mild heart attack and he was admitted to hospital, because he has served his entire life to serve people. But at the end of his retirement, at the end of his service, he was handed over with a pink slip. He may not be doing it. He may not be doing anything wrong. Okay. He may not be doing anything wrong, but he was suddenly handed over with this pink slip. So this is very important. So that's why, in case there is a letter from income tax department regarding attachment or regarding asking some information, you have to promptly answer them. Okay. So there are other clauses also: refusal to close or delay in closing of accounts. In case customer comes to close the account, you cannot deny them. This happens in many private banks. Whenever customer comes to close a loan account or close a deposit account, they make the customer wonder. They make the customer come the next day. They make feel the customer that it is cumbersome process to close a account. But it is customer's right. Whenever he wants, he can close the account. In case there is 20 or 25,000 lying in his account and you are closing that account, so through which mode you will pay him? Is there any criteria? If customer is closing the account and he is demanding that money in cash, can you do so? Customer is having 15,000 in his account. He is looking to close the account and he is demanding that money through cash. Can you pay him the cash? Yes, but up to 20,000. Beyond 20,000, you will not make any payment in cash. You have to issue him a demand draft. Yes, okay. So not following the fair practices code as adopted by bank. Who has rolled out this fair practice code for banks? Right, BCSBI. Violation of RBI directives, including the matters related to third-party products. Third-party products mean fee-based income. There's insurance, mutual fund, etc. So customer has a right to complain regarding this third-party payments also. Don't think you have sold a third-party product to the customer and you are free. This is not the case. Even if you are mis-selling it, you will be penalized. Okay. So complaint in terms of loans and advances. This is also under the clause 8. So you have to remember, there could be a question: under which clause of Banking Ombudsman Scheme 2006 the grounds of complaints are laid? Okay, this is clause 8. Like in SARFAESI, you have been told 13 by 1, the demand notice you send to the customer. These are the favorite clause. You have to remember them. These are often used. So this could be a question. Non-observance of RBI directives on interest rate. You cannot charge exorbitant rate of interest. So you have to follow the RBI guidelines, RBI directives. delay in sanction disbursement or non-observance of prescribed time schedule for disposal of loan applications. What is that called? Prescribed time schedule, which is a very favorite word for bankers. What is that called? TAT, turnaround time. Okay, you have to follow the turnaround time. That means, look, you are working under a very pressurized atmosphere. You must understand that. You must understand the rule of game. A simple mistake by you, customer is empowered to complain against you, but you are not. If customer misbehaves you, even if you cannot make a complaint, there are laws that even if customer misbehaves you, you can go to the court of law, but that is if he misbehaves you inside bank's premises. If anything happens outside bank's premises, then it is you are as good as a general public, right? So, but you deal most of your customers, most of your NPA customers outside the bank premises. So, understand the difference. As a banker, you have very limited rights, but as a customer, they have a huge list of rights. This is not limited to them. There are also Consumer Protection Act, which is also applicable to them. Okay, let's go ahead. Not accepting application for loans without furnishing valid reasons to the applicant. Non-observance of any other direction or instruction given by the Reserve Bank of India as may be specified by the RBI. So that means whatever they are in the RBI directives, a banker need to follow them. In case he fails to do his duty, customer is entitled to make a complaint. So in banking ombudsman, which banks are covered? All scheduled commercial banks, RRB, scheduled primary cooperative banks are under the scheme. Okay, in scheduled commercial bank, the foreign banks also comes into picture. Nowadays, this payments bank and small finance bank are also in the list. How to file a complaint? I think you all be knowing it can be done both through offline and online mode. It is done through the CMS right nowadays. It is the CMS customer management system of RBI. This complaint is lodged through it. So one thing we have missed, that before applying to banking ombudsman, customer needs to write to the bank a written communication regarding the deficiencies of the bank. If he is not satisfied with the answer within the 30 days, then only he can make a complaint. Okay. If he approaches banking ombudsman all of a sudden, the complaint will be outrightly rejected. When complaints are not considered, if one has not approached his bank first, the complaint to banking ombudsman is made after the lapse of more than 1 year and 1 month. The limitation period is 1 year. Customer has made a complaint. He has to wait for 30 days, and after receiving the answer within the 30 days, if he has not made any complaint within that first 1 year, then he is not entitled to make complaint under banking ombudsman, though he can go to the court of law. Okay, the subject matter of the complaint is pending for disposal or already been dealt in the court of law. If the matter is under jurisdiction, if the matter is under consideration by any court, then this will not be discussed. This will not be considered in banking ombudsman. And if the matter is not listed in clause 8, what we discussed earlier. Okay. So how complaints are settled? The first process of settlement of complaint, that banking ombudsman will give bank and the customer to mutually agree upon a settlement. If they fail to do so, then banking ombudsman go and will issue a award in the name of the customer against the bank. Okay, the compensation, that is the penalty that is imposed on the bank, is called award. This is it. This word award is when banking ombudsman rules out a penalty to the bank. What if one is not satisfied with the banking ombudsman's order? He can complain it to the appellate authority of banking ombudsman, and the appellate authority of banking ombudsman is a deputy governor of RBI. And what is the amount of award? I think you all be knowing it, 20 lakhs or the compensation amount, whichever is lower. If the customer has suffered a loss of 10 lakhs, then he will be awarded with a 10 lakh. He will be receiving a award of 10 lakhs. But if it is 30 lakhs, then the maximum amount will be 20 lakhs. The cap is at 20 lakhs. Okay, whichever is lower. And a separate 1 lakh compensation is given to the customer if he has suffered any mental agony. Okay, any mental trauma, any mental pressure due to the bank's delay in resolving customers' complaint. Other points. There are currently 21 banking ombudsman offices in India. The complaint can be filed by one's authorized representative. It is not essentially advocate. If you are not literate or you are not having time, you can authorize somebody to represent on your behalf, because though you make a complaint online, you are called to banking ombudsman's office to represent your case, to state what has happened to you. So this is not a complete online process. You have to represent yourself in front of this banking ombudsman's office. The banking ombudsman charge no fee. So here comes the internal ombudsman scheme 2018. This is important because this is a latest amendment. Apart from the banking ombudsman, there are internal ombudsman schemes. All scheduled commercial banks in India having more than 10 banking outlets. Okay, I have mentioned it 2 times. Having more than 10 banking outlets are required to appoint an internal ombudsman. Okay, the internal ombudsman shall inter alia examine customer complaints which are in the nature of deficiencies in service on the part of bank. So including this, including the banking ombudsman's purview, this internal ombudsman will also examine the same complaints which are laid under the clause 8 of banking ombudsman scheme 2008. Both banking ombudsman and internal ombudsman will examine the complaints laid under clause 8. Okay, but once the internal ombudsman is in place, the customer's complaint will first go through the internal ombudsman. The internal ombudsman has replaced the earlier CCSO, Chief Customer Service Officer scheme. Prior to this internal ombudsman, the post is known as CCSO. Okay, on quarterly basis they have to report to the ombudsman's office. The IO mechanism was set to strengthen the internal grievance redressal system and ensure the complaints of the customers are redressed at the bank level. Okay, the main reason to float this internal ombudsman scheme is to empower the banks to settle the queries by themselves. Then let's see who can be an internal ombudsman. An internal ombudsman can be a retired or currently serving officer, and he should be in the rank of DGM, Deputy General Manager. Minimum 7 years of experience in this regulation, banking supervision, payment settlement system, consumer protection, etc. IO shall not have worked or working in the same bank. जिस बैंक में वो पोस्टेड रहेगा, वो उस बैंक में काम नहीं करना चाहिए. He should not be working or should not have worked in that current organization. Okay, where he is going to be posted as a internal ombudsman. His age should not be above 70 years and his tenure of appointment should be minimum for 3 years and maximum for 5 years. Nowadays you can see there are many internal ombudsman recruitments are being flashed by these banks. So the eligibility criteria is all this, and in coming days some of you or some of us could be holding that post. The scheme is being introduced, this NBFC ombudsman. This has also come in the year 2018. This scheme is being introduced under section 45 of Reserve Bank of India Act 1934, 45L. Why? This has been come under RBI Act because the banking ombudsman came under section 35A Banking Regulation Act. But why this came under Reserve Bank of India Act? Because as I told you yesterday in our last class, that Banking Regulation Act deals with all that rules and regulations through which banks will be governed or banks will be regulated in India. So though it is as it is, can customer, there is a query, can a customer directly complain to banking ombudsman or his? No, he cannot complain directly to banking ombudsman. He has to make a complaint to the banks first. He has to wait for 30 days. If within 30 days he has not received any answer, then only he will go. In case he has received an answer from the bank and it is not satisfactory, then only he can also go to the banking ombudsman. So you cannot directly approach to banking ombudsman. Okay. And in internal ombudsman system, customer can directly approach to a internal ombudsman. Okay. But the banking customer can never directly approach to banking ombudsman. So the basic difference between NBFC ombudsman and banking ombudsman is as per the Banking Regulation Act, and the NBFC ombudsman is as per RBI Act 1934. There are as of date, the NBFC ombudsman has its office in Chennai, Kolkata, New Delhi, and Mumbai. Okay. And it is same as it is mentioned in the clause out. The grounds of complaint are same as it is there in Banking Ombudsman Scheme, clause 8. NBFCs, which NBFCs are under this scheme? Now, only the NBFCs that are accepting the deposits are under this scheme. And later on, those have customer interface with asset size of 1 billion rupees or above will be under this NBFC ombudsman. Okay. But as of now, only the first point, NBFCs that are authorized to accept deposits are under this scheme. Okay. So NBFC ombudsman, the award is maximum 10 lakhs. And there is also 1 lakh for mental agony. Okay. So this is all. And there is also a insurance ombudsman, but this is not important for us. But you must remember the award for the insurance ombudsman, it is 30 lakhs. And it has been floated by Government of India. Whereas Banking Ombudsman and NBFC Ombudsman are floated by RBI. Okay. The award in three of them is different. 20 plus 1 in Banking Ombudsman, NBFC 10 plus 1, and in insurance it is 30. Okay. So this is all in this section. In case you have any doubt, I think I have cleared everything about Banking Ombudsman. I don't think there is much left apart from this PDF. This will be shared to you immediately. So just have a look. And I will be preparing next on Basel 3, which is very important. I think it will be prepared by tomorrow. We will be having our tomorrow's class regarding this Basel 3 norms. Though all these prior Basel 2, Basel 1 are outdated, so we will be only discussing about Basel 3. There is no requirement of discussing about Basel 2 nowadays, as there are many reforms in Basel 3 has also came into effect. So we will be focusing only on Basel 3. I think you don't require anything more about Banking Ombudsman. So if you have any doubt, then you can ask me right now, or we will be discussing it in group. Do you have any queries? You can ask. Okay. Yeah. Hello. Go ahead. No, Yeah, RRBs, yes, RRBs will have. Okay, but then no, RBI, it is said only scheduled commercial banks, na. Let me check it again. Let me check it again. Let me check it again. All scheduled commercial banks, excluding RRB. Okay, we have mentioned it here, excluding RRB. The sponsored bank's internal ombudsman will also deal with this RRB's complaint. Okay. Is there any other question? It's a valid one. Is there anyone who wants to ask any question? So we are closing the session. If you have any doubt, please put it in our group. I will be sharing this PDF. You just have a watch. It will not take more than 5 minutes, as we have all discussed all the major points. But in case there will be written test, some of these clauses may come. Nowadays they don't ask direct questions like under which section this banking ombudsman scheme is floated. They ask questions like what is that clause, etc. Okay. So thank you. We are closing this session here. We will be back with Basel 3 tomorrow. Okay.